If I close my eyes, I can still taste the sweat on my upper lip, sharper than any sugar as I fumbled with the piping bag in the university kitchen. Outside, beyond the glass wall, sunlight fell on the city. It was a hot Sydney November. But inside, everything was ice cold. The ceiling lamps buzzed. My hands shook as I held the delicate shoe against the plate, willing my heart to stop racing. The jury sat across the table in a silent row. Chef Mallory, with her thin, glacial smile, 3 others in their whites, all colleagues who had baked their way across Paris and Milan, the kind of people my mother spent Sunday afternoons reminding me weren't our kind. They leaned forward, lips pursed, notebooks open, pencils poised. Their faces blurred at the edges as I tried forcing a breath through my constricted chest. This after months of preparation. 12 months living in one rented room and scrimping for imported butter. 5 years of hand-me-down ridicule, especially from Dad, about throwing your education away. Real Australians don't pipe ganache, and everything else that rattles in your ears late at night. Now, my own instruments failed me. The piping nozzle slipped, smearing a caramel streak across the sable biscuit base, which, with academic crudity, my mind noted, that base is too dark, the crumb ruined. One hand jerked, a crack sounded, and a gold-leafed shoe tumbled onto the floor. There was an audible, incredulous exhale from Chef Mallory. My knees threatened to give. I tried to laugh, say something clever, something self-deprecating to soften the fall, but words wouldn't come. One by one, the jurors averted their eyes as I bent, shook, tried to salvage the pastry, and instead made everything worse. "Enough," Chef Mallory said finally, her tone merciful only in its brevity. "Thank you, Mason." That was the day my dream, a dependable friend since childhood, since the afternoons spent kneeling at my grandmother's stove in Bankstown, since all those secret notebooks of recipes choked on the dust of this tile floor. I remember pushing open the swinging kitchen door, blinking hard against tears I swore not to let show. The corridor buzzed with practical students hustling trays, calling out orders. I walked straight past them, head bowed, not seeing anything but the yellow-brown stains on my chef's whites. I hid in an unused storeroom among dry flour bags and the sullen hum of a fridge that smelled of onions. My phone rang 5 times, Mom, then Dad, then my cousin Dina, and I couldn't pick up. Even then, still hoping they'd call to say something, anything other than, "We told you so." But I knew what would come instead. The same chorus, always in 3-part harmony. Pastry, imagine. Your grandfather worked 2 jobs for you to get into uni, and you're wasting it on pastry? It was always about wasted potential. As if tasting a perfect shoe, all that work and care for 5 seconds of wonder meant nothing compared to someone else's idea of a job. I learned early about rejection. At home, at school, at family gatherings where my so-called career made a punchline. Even my friends thought it was a phase I'd snap out of. Come on, Mace. Can't you just take a gap year like normal people? But after today, I felt even the universe wanted me to stop. I stayed in that storeroom for 3 hours, watching sunlight crawl over the pitted tiles, feeling the cold knead itself into my bones. At some point, I lifted the phone and messaged Mom. Didn't go well. The reply came in seconds. Just come home. Dad says you can take the TAFE course. There's always GP's office admin. I placed the phone on the concrete floor and watched the little screen fade to black. The months that followed were tight and slow. I took the train home empty-handed. Dad avoided my eyes at dinner, quiet in a way that felt more cutting than his sharpest jokes. Mom tried her best, packing boxes of leftovers for me. Even my younger brother, always the golden child, kept his distance. They wanted me to be okay, but they also wanted me to change. Worse was the mockery I couldn't escape. Family friends at church, neighbors at the shops, a thrumming echo. Oh, Mason's still fiddling with cupcakes? What a waste. I kept to myself, working the counter at a local bakery, a job I'd begged off a family acquaintance. I watched tourists snap photos of lamingtons, made coffee, weighed croissants, and smiled through their requests for something with less sugar. But when I closed up, shoulders glassy with flour dust, I still baked. I'd open the fridge at 1 a.m., hands trembling, and cobble together hybrid pastries, lamingtons, torched with yuzu cream, mille-feuille with bush honey. Mostly, these attempts collapsed. I burned, oversalted, split liters of custard, and wrote it all down. For every disaster, I learned a little. The exact second sugar caramelizes, the point when ganache splits, and how frantic patience can save it. Months curled into a year, then more. I didn't stop. Not because I thought things would get better, not even because I remembered that first kitchen heat, those afternoons at Grandma's. I baked because it was the only place my grief became clarity. Sifting flour, I could see everything spread out in sharp relief. The difference between what others wanted and the quiet, pulsing thing I needed. I baked because nothing else gave my hands meaning. Word got around, eventually. He's a bit mad with the pastries, but the taste is there. Someone passed me along to a hotel chef who liked my burnt honey tartlets. That gig gave way to a catering event, then another. I started a food Instagram. Most nights I slept on buses or on my friend Luca's battered couch in Newtown. I didn't tell my parents. I'd learned not to let hope slip into disappointment. It was at a corporate gala 2.5 years after that humiliation before the jury that I met Elise Chen, a hotel manager with a laugh like fresh bread. She liked my native wattle seed eclairs. "Why don't you pitch something real?" she said, scribbling a number on a napkin. "We're opening a flagship in Surrey Hills." The interview happened in a kitchen with more steel than my old school's entire workshop. I wore my shoes from the bakery job, cracked leather, burn marks, but my hands held steady. I brought a box of those eclairs, this batch perfect, each piped with surgical precision, and the hotel chef bit, then smiled. 3 months trial, he said. Impress me. I did. It's odd how the worst day of your life, replayed and remembered, can turn itself inside out. Hard lessons in the cold pantry meant I'd seen every way a ganache could fail. Every day, I arrived before dawn, tweaking recipes, weighing, testing. Some days, I thought nobody noticed, until one morning, a visiting French chef tasted my passion fruit tart and asked for seconds. The hotel's bakery took on a life of its own. Customers returned, then queued. I was allowed to hire a sous chef. Reviews spilled online, the best shoes south of the equator, and my name, once a joke among family, started to echo on food blogs and Instagram. Elise stopped by one day, flicking flour from her jacket. "Mason, we're going to need a signature dessert, something that says Sydney in every bite." I thought then of the home I'd run from, the parched sweetness of my grandmother's backyard, the zing of finger lime, the way sunlight fell on dusty kitchen benches. So, I returned to Bankstown one afternoon, bought finger limes at the farmer's market, and stood alone in Mum's old kitchen, her wedding plates still stacked, her apron still hanging, as though waiting for me to finally come home. I made cake, folding native ingredients into old-school French technique. Pistachio dacquoise, lemon myrtle, finger lime curd, Grandma's beeswax for the glaze. I served it to Elise and the chef, hands steady, eyes bright. Elise closed her eyes over the first bite. "It tastes like here," she said. For the first time in years, I let myself smile. That cake became the bakery's calling card. The hotel